Christopher Hitchens was the final speaker in favor of the proposition.
I might have a bit more for you. The real question, utterly dodged by David in his shady remarks, is this. Who will be the one who says, I know exactly where the limit should be, I know how far you can go, and I know when you've gone too far. And I'll decide that. Who do you think, who do you know? Who have you heard of? Who have you read about in history who you'd give that job? I would say, just for this evening, I wouldn't give it to anyone who's spoken so far on the other side. There have been some bad signs lately. The imprisonment of David Irving in Austria for a thought crime, for the possibility that he might, while in Austria, have given a speech saying that he doubts some of the verdicts of history, as I consider them to be, about the final solution. And there's no victim to this crime. The Austrian consul called me up weeping with self-pity when I pointed this out in the Wall Street Journal and said, but we thought finally Austria would be popular. We had done something that you would all like. So gemütlich. The land that survives on the myth that Hitler was German and Beethoven was Viennese. The land that had Waldheim as its chancellor and has Jörg Haider as a member of its government, can revenge itself on a defenseless British academic and jail him. This is a standing disgrace. And there are attempts to extend similar thought crime laws to other topics of historical importance, the most depressing of which recently is the decision, provisionally at any rate, by the French Parliament, to criminalize discussion of the Armenian massacres, considered by me and most others to have been a planned genocide in the early part of the 20th century. Now you can't take the contrary view. I stipulate that all of these things, when they happen, offend me very much. I'm offended by them, I want you to understand. It goes to the core of what I do and what I am. The First Amendment doesn't just provide me with a living, the First Amendment is my life. When it's infringed, I am offended. I had claimed the right to be offended. Do not claim the right to go and burn down someone else's place of worship, to threaten their editor with violent reprisal, to picket their home, to publish their name in threatening terms on the internet. I won't do any of that. It doesn't mean I can't be offended, but it does mean that I'm even more offended by those who claim the right not just to be offended, but to seek violent reprisal, as is so vividly and currently being done by the votaries of the Prophet Muhammad, in recent instances of which I only have no time at all to inform you, but about which you already know, and to which I hope I will be asked to return. Thanks very much.
That was Christopher Hitchens for the proposition. Against the proposition now, Daisy Kahn.
Distinguished guests, Philip, Signe, and Christopher. First of all, I think it was divine intervention that Christopher was not allowed to continue. I think Christopher should nominate me to decide who will decide, because really, Christopher, I'm quite fair. And I definitely do not believe in cutting off lips, and I hate padlocks. So I want to begin by saying that the motion of today, whether freedom of expression must include the license to offend, is in a sense really a moot point. It's a moot question, and I hope that all of you here today will consider rejecting it, throwing it out. The freedom we have to express ourselves does, in fact, enable us to offend. Christopher is doing it all the time, in his own sweet way. In fact, one can even say that sometimes it is necessary to offend, and for good cause. The appropriate question to ask today is whether freedom of expression is absolute and limitless, or should it come with some social responsibility? The reason why we're having this debate today is because a number of recent events, such as the Danish cartoon and the Pope Benedict's remarks on Islam, have brought this issue to the forefront. My Jewish friend called me right after the cartoon crisis. Jewish rabbi friend called me, said, "What are you doing about the cartoons?" I said, "What are we going to do? It's just a cartoon." He says, "No, don't ever accept it. This is what they did to us in Germany. They started with the cartoons."
Excuse me.
Wait, come on.
Oh, no, it's offensive.
Well,
And
For a meeting with the Prime Minister, and that meeting was refused. And basically, the community felt that their hurts and their concerns were not being addressed. And they went overseas, and they sought support from overseas, and then the whole situation went out of control.
Right.
So wait.
And they torched the embassies.
No, we're saying had it...
Christopher,
tore the joint down.
Let Christopher respond.
No, I'm just want to finish the point. What I'm saying is that had it been addressed at the local level, it would have never become an international phenomena that it became. It should be addressed at the local level, like Signe did. When the Philadelphia Inquirer decided to publish that same cartoon, they called the Muslim community and said, we want to do something about this and we want to create dialogue. Now, that was responsible. That was socially responsible.
Christopher, go ahead.
When Dr. Samuel Johnson had finished his great lexicography, the first real English dictionary, he was visited by various delegations of people to congratulate him, including a delegation of London's respectable womanhood who came to his parlour in Fleet Street and said, Doctor, we congratulate you on your decision to exclude all indecent words from your dictionary. And he said, ladies, I congratulate you on your persistence in looking them up. I think anyone who understands that story, which I'm pleased to see everybody obviously does, will see through the sinister piffle we were just treated to just now. If people are determined to be offended, if they will climb up on the ladder, balancing it precariously on their own toilet cistern, to be upset by what they see through the neighbour's bathroom window, there's nothing you can do about that. The imams in Denmark did the following. First, they invited the intervention of 22 foreign ambassadors in Denmark's internal affairs. Itself a disgrace. The Danish Prime Minister quite rightly repudiated it. Then they added 2 cartoons of their own, drawn by them, one of them showing the Prophet Muhammad in the shape of a pig. Then they shopped those around the Muslim world until they could get kindling going under the embassies of a small democracy in the capital cities of countries where demonstrations are normally not allowed. And they violated Danish diplomatic immunity. They tried to sabotage the Danish economy. There were random pogroms and attacks on individual Scandinavians. And David Cesarini says he doesn't like the reminiscence of the 1930s that is inscribed in the cartoon. I don't like the reminiscence of the 1930s that is involved in a kristallnacht against Denmark, put up by religious demagogues and thugs. And that's what needs to be condemned.
Wow. He's a very important guy. He gets into people's living rooms. And not for a while, though, because he's in a prison cell.
Nazis always get in the living
room.
room.
No, and his book, his edition of the Goebbels Diary, is a very useful and interesting book that everyone who wants to know more about the period should read.
Let's
for example, it's only in that book that it's proved that the British Union of Fascists took money from the Nazi Party, something that a claim they always denied. The question is, do you think you're big enough to read a book by David Irving and make up your own mind about it, or do you think that someone else should do that for me, right? The real question, or if you like, subtext question before us is this: is nothing sacred? What we've really been discussing is the old question of whether or not there is such an offence as blasphemy or profanity. Now, if I don't tell you exactly what I think about the simpering speeches that we heard from the other side, I'm not censoring myself. I'm just being polite and civil and saving some of your time. What I will not prevent myself from saying, or will not let anyone else prevent me from saying, is the following. It is wrong, and always has been, for churches, powerful, secular, human institutions, to claim exemption from criticism, which is what's really being asked here. If there's going to be respect, it has to be mutual. Does Islam respect my right to unbelief? Of course it does not. Does it respect the right of a Muslim to apostatize and change belief? Of course it does not. I have had to have, I can name now 4 or 5 friends, 6 or 8 maybe, if I had time, 5 or 6 of whom you would certainly have heard of, who have to live their lives under police protection for commenting on Islam, for having an opinion on it. And this is getting steadily worse all the time. And it's grotesque. Here is an enormous religion with gigantic power that claims that an archangel spoke to an illiterate peasant and brought him a final revelation that supersedes all others. It's a plagiarism by an epileptic of the worst bits of Judaism and Christianity. That's obvious, it seems to me. How long do you think I'm going to be able to say that anywhere I like? It would already be quite a risky thing to say in quite a lot of places. I did not come to the United States of America 25 years ago to learn how to keep my mouth shut. And I'm going to reject all offers that I change that policy, however simperingly they are put, okay?